Are you looking for an experience that will grow your teenagers' faith, increase their leadership skills, and teach them the discernment to engage with the world all around them, all while taking them on the adventure of a lifetime? I mean, who isn't looking for that? If your teenager loves fun, adventure, and wants to grow in their faith and leadership this summer, then send them to Excel's Summer Leadership Camp. Excel's Summer Leadership Camp is a 12-day experience for passionate young leaders looking to discover God's truth, to discern wisely, and live wholeheartedly. Your teenager will embark on a transformative journey in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where they'll build lasting friendships in the context of community, embark on thrilling adventures like camping, rock climbing, whitewater rafting, and they will receive expert training and certifications in categories like CPR and wilderness first aid. Each aspect of the camp is woven together to help them learn to discover truth, to discern wisely, and take godly action in the context of real-life situations. To learn more or begin an application, go to theexcelcamp.org. That's theexcelcamp.org. Hurry, because summer is just around the corner.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reclamation Podcast. I'm so excited to bring you today's episode, the first episode of 2020. Today we're going to talk about SMART goals. We're going to talk about the pain of change, and we're going to talk about things that you can do to set yourself up for success in the new year. And while we're on the topic of success, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this podcast with you. This platform has grown so much in 2019, and being able to share this content with you has meant the world to me. I know that there are so many things that can take up your time and your energy, so the fact that you give us some of this is incredible. As a matter of fact, I know that a lot of you have shared and reviewed the podcast, and I want to say thank you. So we're going to do a little contest. I've never done one before. It's my first time. A contest to celebrate anyone who has signed up or will sign up by the end of January on twmelt.com, on my email list. Right, so anybody who signs up now and by the end of January, you'll get your choice of a book from some of the authors who are coming up on the podcast. Charles Causey, Brian Tome, Pastor Josh Gagnon, all sorts of incredible authors. Justin McRoberts, all of them, and I like to send you a book. So we're going to do a drawing. I want to share some of that content with you. It's incredible content. You can sign up to get your email on the list at twmelt.com. Now, let's talk a little about 2020. I know so many of us start off the year with these incredible goals, right? And I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I want to do it by then. I want to do it here, and I want to do it like this, and, six-pack abs and all the other stuff. But oftentimes, those don't stick. And I think that the reason they don't stick is there's not enough pain involved. Let me explain. Tony Robbins has a quote: "Change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change." Change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. Now, what does that mean? Well, I think for most of us, we're pretty comfortable. All right, we get to do what we want, eat what we want, live how we want, and that kind of comfort is hard to break out of. As a matter of fact, I would say that if we're going to lean into the pain of change, we have to make where we are incredibly uncomfortable. So how do we do that? How do we create more pain in our lives? Well, there are lots of ways. The first one is deprivation, right? And that's the one we all try. Deprivation. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that, etc., etc. But there's another type of pain, and that's the pain that comes with relationship pain. And what I'd like to suggest to you is that the best way to cause pain in your life is realize who you're doing it for. I like to say it like this: the what you do won't matter nearly as much as who you are doing it for. Right? The what you do won't matter nearly as much as who you're doing it for. So if you can figure out a way to create pain in the relationship that you are motivated to do it for, I believe that your goal for 2020 is more likely to stick. For example, you could say, I want to lose weight, but that by itself isn't enough. You might say something like this instead: I want to lose weight because I want to be healthy so that I can see my kids walk across the college graduation floor. Another thing you might say is, I want to grow closer to God in 2020. The problem is that's a really hard goal to kind of encapsulate and measure. So instead, what you could say is, I know that if I pray every day, I'm a better person for my wife and kids.
This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
So why are you praying? So you can connect to God so that you can be a better person for who would be the wife and kids. And so what I want to suggest to you is that as you begin to think about the pain of change or the pain of staying the same, break out of your comfort zone and ask some of those people who you're doing it for to hold you accountable. If you have kids, then you know that this is actually not that hard to do. I recently have made the decision in 2020 that I want to limit my sugar intake. And I told all my kids. And so now every time that there's a piece of candy, they go, "Oh, Dad, you can't have that." And while it's slightly annoying, the majority of the time it is super helpful because it's preventing me from making a decision I don't really want to make. So who in your life are you doing it for, and how can they help hold you accountable? Now, in some cases, they may not be around. They may be in a different state, or they may not be audible, like if you're doing it for a newborn. In that case, finding an accountability partner is key. And actually, we think about this a lot in our physical life, but this is also super true in our spiritual life. If you have a spiritual goal for 2020, I want to encourage you to find somebody who you can be in a one-on-one or even a one-on-two relationship with. Maybe there's 3 of you that have the same goal. At Restoration, we call this intentional disciple making. And in intentional disciple making, what happens is we push each other to new places in our relationship with Christ and our faith. How do we do it? Well, at the end of almost every disciple making session that I lead and that I encourage my leaders to lead, we do something called SMART goals, right? And you've probably heard of this before. Specific, measurable, attitude challenging, realistic, and time sensitive. I'll say it again. Specific, measurable, attitude challenging, realistic, and time sensitive. If you can set a SMART goal, you're more likely to be successful in what you're trying to accomplish spiritually, emotionally, physically in 2020. Let me give you an example. If you say, I want to read the Bible, that's a great goal. As a matter of fact, you can say, I want to read the Bible more in 2020, and then you can ask maybe your spouse to hold you accountable. But if you say, I want to read the Bible at least 3 times a week and read through all of the Gospels in the first 6 months of 2020, then that becomes a very specific, measurable, attitude challenging, realistic, and time sensitive goal. We put an end date on it. We've kind of figured out exactly what we're going to do. We figured out what it looked like. And we're able to slowly move through the goal one step at a time. I sincerely hope that you're able to set some SMART goals around your spiritual journey, your physical journey, and your emotional journey. As you begin to dial into these different phases, you'll find a more complete, intimate, and full relationship with God. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Thank you for the journey that we're on together. Thank you for listening and supporting the Reclamation Podcast. Also, don't forget, contest any person who signs up or has already signed up at twmilt.com for our email list. We're going to draw winners at the end of January. I want your name to be on the list. I want you to get the opportunity to get one of these incredible books from authors like Brian Tome, Josh Gagnon, Justin McRoberts, and Charles Causey. Some incredible, incredible authors. You're going to love it. As always, you can reach out to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your SMART goals at TWMilt on Instagram, the Reclamation Podcast with Tony Meltenberger on Facebook, and as always on my website, twmilt.com. Thank you so much for listening. Please share the podcast, tell a friend. Next week, brand new episode, Justin McRoberts talks about his devotional that he wrote, 40 Days with the Lord's Prayer. Fascinating thinker. I know you're going to love him. He's got so much to offer us. So until then, I'll see you guys real soon.